As I started looking into addressing the electrical issues with this bike, I was investigating a little bit more into these pipes. I don't think that's even the pipes that's supposed to be on this bike. So in the spirit of our channel name, we're going to bob this little rebel out. And basically what a bobber is you have a minimalist fender to no fender from the seat back. To compare it, you've heard some of the old truck drivers say when they're driving without a trailer, they're running bobtail or bobbing. Same thing. This is cutting down, getting rid of the bulk of the tail of the bike. So we're going to get rid of this fender. We're going to get rid of these fender supports or struts there. We're going to change out the brake and turn signals. We may do something with the shock. We're definitely going to get rid of these pipes here. I will probably use the neck of those pipes. We're going to get rid of these passenger peg mounts, those exhaust mounts. Hope this is light enough on this side for you to see. Peg mounts gone, chain guard gone. So we'll just bob it out, and I'm going to go ahead and take care of some of those things now before we start looking at the electrical issues with that. So I'm going to take all these things off, and it'll just make us a little bit easier to work with. And we'll also do something with those hideous ram's horn handlebars. Just never really liked those on anything. So let's clean this up a little bit, and then we'll start looking at the wiring. All right, let's look at basic wiring. It's not like a diagram. It is a diagram, but it's basically, I'm going to water it down for you and simplify it so it won't be so intimidating. A lot of people have wiring diagrams, and it's got all the lights, brake lights, brake switches, horn relays, high and low switch, turn signals, all that stuff. We're not going to put that on there. We're going to just show a basic, just basic wiring. Okay. You're going to have your battery. And we're going to put this, make this a little weird looking thing. This is going to be your stator. That's what is in your motor that turns. It's got a little round thing with the copper on it and then magnets. And that's what produces the energy, the electricity. And that's going to go up to your, we'll make this so you'll know which way it's going, rectifier. And most of the time you can tell a rectifier, but it's going to be flat on one side and it's going to be ribbed on the other side, and it's usually going to be mounted in a place that gets some type of airflow, because that rectifier can get hot. And we're going to say this is ground from the battery. This is going to be the positive from the battery, plus negative. And like I say, some people will call the negative earth. So we're going to have this run over and go down, and that's going to be on to your motor as a ground. So that's where that's going to be. And then from the rectifier, or this positive, let's go ahead and pull this positive up. That positive is going to come up, and it's going to go straight over to your, let's make this is going to be your starter. That's where that first positive wire is going to go to on your starter. and then it's also going to come up here and go over here, and somewhere around here it's going to have, let's just put this, make this look this way, is a 30, at least a 30 amp fuse right there. Now out of your stator, out of your rectifier, you're going to have this come over and join before that fuse, because it's going to be sending power to the battery, and it doesn't make any difference what goes into the starter, because you have another wire that's going to come in there from that starter, from your ignition there, that's gonna come in that way. And now this is going to go to, let's come up here and make us some room. This is going to go to your how can this look? Let's make it look like this. This is going to come up here to your ignition. Now, off your ignition, you're going to have power going over here and splitting and going to your coils. Say coil 1, we'll just put coil there. And have one here. Now this, on the back side of your ignition, is going to come over here and drop down to your starter. Now in between here is what, you know, can get one of those things that gets hairy. This is going to have to come up here to your your start button or off and on. Let's just go ahead and put one right there so it won't be confusing. We'll just put start button here, because that's ignition turns your power on. Power's going to run out to your coils, and then from the coils it's going to go over here. Let's make us a little more room. Let's make this that shape. This is going to be your points or pickups, whatever you want to. And that's going to come out of your coil here to the other side. We'll make it one here and one there. That's how that's going to go. And basically that is the, I guess I could get it down here where you can see it. That'd be great, wouldn't it? There we go. That is the basic wiring to make your motorcycle run. There's really nothing else that you need. You know, you don't need. Let's start here. You don't need lights. You know, you don't need a headlight. You don't need a tail light. You don't need turn signals to run. You don't need a radio. What else? You don't need, you know, what would be some of the things? Kickstand, switch. You don't, you know, all this kind of stuff. Neutral switch. You know, all this stuff that this other wiring is going to take place of. It's going to add to it. You don't need it, and that's why all this stuff. You could want it, but once you get this basic design down in your mind, all this other stuff is simple. Because this would be leading off of your ignition. That would go up to you know, a light switch, headlight switch. You know, would move on over to a brake interrupter switch. Let's just make it look like that for brakes, and that would be, you know, on your handlebar or on your foot brake. There's going to be, move over this way, there'll be a high-low switch for your headlight. And once you start adding on to this, the problem that I see with most people try to look at the big picture and you just look at a spaghetti bowl of wires on your motorcycle and think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna take it to somebody to get that fixed. Well, dive into it. You might be surprised. Once you get things separated, labeled, and you know the basics and where things are going, you can make your modifications. One of the most simple modifications to get started with is that you can do on your own is get rid of that ignition switch. Get rid of that key. A lot of people will go for just a simple switch if they want to take a lot of the controls off of their handlebars. They'll get rid of this switch. They'll get rid of the on-off switch on the handlebars, and then again, you'll have to go through particular wiring on your bike, because some, just like the Yamaha V-Star 650s, you turn that switch on, and then you flip the on switch on your handlebars. That on switch on the handlebars will actually, turn the prime pump on, fuel pump. So anyway, you just work out but this, what we've got here is the basic. Again, we'll take this out. This is the basic setup of every motorcycle. Basic setup. And once you start customizing yours, you can choose what things you want to run with and what you don't want to run with. You can even take that battery out. If you take that battery out, you've got to replace it with a I can't even think of what it's called now. A capacitor. You've got to replace that battery with a capacitor, and you've got to upgrade your stator, because the stator needs to put out more energy. The rectifier regulator's got to be changed, and then you've got to have a capacitor, because there are certain things on your bike, like your coils and stuff, that depend on that bolus of energy that's stored in the battery. So I hope that didn't confuse you. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. But let's move over now and show you how to do some of the wiring, and then we'll get back to modifying on the bike. I hope that explains a little bit about the basic wiring on a bike. Our problem why nothing was working was all three of these fuses were blown. And these are the old glass style fuses that you'll find on these 80 model Rebels. It's just another reason these bikes are so easy to work on. I mean, it's not hard to trace anything back. Now, being that all three of them were blown, usually what causes all three to be blown is reversing polarity. Somebody's either tried to put the battery in backwards, or jump it backwards, or somehow the ground and earth, if you want to call it earth, and power got swapped, and that's what those are there for, is to protect all your other mechanisms on that. So we know now that we can most likely put our battery charger back on here, because we still don't have a battery yet that will work on this bike. So we'll put our battery charger on that, and then test out and see, make sure we've got all of our lights and everything working before we start tearing any of this stuff out to continue with our bobber build on this little bike. That's always, even with motors or anything else, you want to get back to factory original specs, or as close as you can, before you start modifying. If you modify and then try to go back and figure out what's wrong, it's just that much more difficult. So let's get our battery charger hooked up and see what we've got. Okay, I was able to find the battery they have back on the back shelf back there. We had to put it in backwards so we would not make the mistake of putting our polarity backwards. So let's make sure that we've, alright, that's good. Alright, we got a light on the speedo, tag light, tail light, rear signal, front signal. I don't know if you can see that there, but that one's flashing. There we go. And I'm almost certain, sorry to keep jerking this around, that our headlight only comes on when it's running. I believe that's the way these little bikes are. Now let's see if we can get, I don't know if you can see that. That's our handlebar brake, and then our foot brake. All right, we're not getting it. There we go. There we go. So we need to look at that connection. Alrighty, so let's try to pop it over a little bit to make sure we got our wiring back on our starter. Get that on run. Alright, we got that back. So our wiring is where it needs to be to factory specifications. Now the next thing we're going to do is take this fender off, take these turn signals, the tail brake light off, the tag light. We're going to mark all those because we're going to use them in different places, and then we're going to start working towards getting this fender off. And we do have our carburetor back on, so just to make sure we're going to have a running bike, that will be the next thing we'll do. We'll put a little gas in it and make sure it's going to turn over and run for just a bit. So we don't want to put a whole lot of time into it and not be a runner. Okie doke, that's what we'll do next. All right, we ran our bike for just a little bit, and I do mean just a little bit, just enough to make sure that was going to work okay and no strange, terrible noises come from there. And it was fairly smooth for no longer than we ran it. And we've removed the back fender and the wiring. We've went back through with these colors in here and made us a little chart so we'll know what goes where. Those are the two wires coming up from the rear foot brake that's coming into that. And we removed the fender. How the fender is comes off, you have this bolt that goes through that chrome piece that you remember being there, and then you can see the jacks underneath there. So we jacked it up to take a little bit of stress off of this swing arm. Just took that bolt off there, slid the shock off, and then this housing here, this bolt nut combination here, and screws out from there. And we've just got it back in there right now, but you can see that gap. We'll need the washer, that gap, to take up that. And I haven't decided whether I'm going to keep the front fender on or not. We're going to go with a semi fender, not a semi like tractor and trailer, but semi coverage fender on the back. One of the things that, you know, if that's the way you want it, that's fine, but I can't stand somebody to leave a factory fender on here and then cut it off, and then you have, you know, a 4-inch gap between this fender looking thing and the tire. A chains link gap is about all you need, as long as your fender is attached to your swing arm and not the rigid part of your frame. You want this fender to raise up and down with the tire. So we're going to attach the fender on the front swing arm there in that ridge and back here, so that we'll go up and down. And like I said, we're doing a budget build, so we're going to go out through the junkyard and find a fender, probably a front fender off of another bike to use it. Well, here's one laying here. We'll see how close it comes to being what we need. We may get away with that, I don't know, but that's an option. So anyway, that's as far as we got with this video. When we come back, we'll let's see what we're going to do. We're going to look at some pipe options, I believe, and see what we can do. Of course, we're going to use these factory pipes. We're not going to use the exhaust. I think we're going to make some neighbor haters. That is our fender, and it came off, chain guard, and the exhaust. The rear foot pegs and stuff's already been put in the scrap metal. So that's our video for this, and if you like what we're doing, please subscribe, leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, all that stuff that helps the channel. Hopefully we can get the channel to grow, and we're going to start doing some giveaways and start working on and start swapping around and making some pretty cool bikes. So thank you guys so much for watching.